Okay, so welcome back. We have our A-roll track here built of all of the main content of the video. And now we're gonna begin to add our B-roll track, which is really going to be essentially close-ups of what I'm doing in the A-roll. So first and foremost, we wanna make sure that as we're adding our B-roll to our project, it doesn't end up inadvertently covering up or messing with our A-roll tracks. So we're going to highlight the V2 track and the A2 track to make sure that when we are adding clips in, they're being prioritized to be added on the V2 track and not on the V1 track. We don't want to, or the A1 track. We don't want to accidentally remove some of our audio or some of our footage from the main content, because you never know when you might need it again. So now you should have familiarized yourself with the A-roll. You have a pretty good idea and understanding of how LECA works with semi-hydroponics. Congratulations on knowing that. So we want to go in and now begin to start to add our B-roll on top of our A-roll. So let's go over to the first section that I know I'm going to want to add a B-roll shot to. So we're going to go to our B-roll footage, cam B1. And I believe I talk to you as I'm filming this footage as well, but it's essentially I'm doing close-ups of all of the things that I'm holding. So let's go to a nice section where I'm holding up the Monstera, which is the plant that we're propagating. And we only want 5 to 10 seconds of this footage, right? Instead of like we did for the A-roll where we drag the whole thing down, that's gonna be a little too redundant and a little too cumbersome with the B-roll since we only need snippets of it every now and then. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to mark an in and an out and then drag it down to where I want it to go. So the first thing I want to do is find where I want to put this clip. And this clip is just of the Monstera. It's a nice close-up. Let's watch and see where I want to put it. I am going to show you how I am going to take my propagated Monstera. Okay, so I hold up the plant right there and I say what it is, and throughout this whole video I say Monstera wrong, which is hilarious, but neither here nor there. We've pulled it up. I want to go back a couple of frames just to make sure I have right when I'm starting to lift it up, and so to do that I'm going to use my back and forward arrow keys to just kind of click back or so until right about there, you know? And then while the timeline is still selected, just so I don't lose where I am, I'm gonna hit I, which is the in. It's called an in point. You'll have an in point and an out point. Just so I kind of know where I am, in case my playhead moves, I can always go back to where this new indentation is now. And then up here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna mark an in and an out for this source clip. So here I am holding the Monstera. Here I am holding the Monstera. So I'm gonna go ahead and click I to mark an in. Focused. And we just need a couple seconds. So I think that's good. I'm gonna hit O on my keyboard for the out point. And then in the same way that you dragged and dropped your A-roll footage, we're gonna drag and drop this B-roll subclip that we've made with our in and out point. We're going to click on this film strip icon right below it in the source panel and click and drag from that rather than the main window like we've been dragging before. So we're gonna do that, and when you do that, you'll see this hand appear. Click and drag, and it'll drop it right now on V2. I'm gonna hit the plus sign a couple times so we can zoom in, and you can see our clip is there now on top of our A-roll, which is our V1 track. And so let's go back to the beginning and hit the spacebar and see what we've got. Hey everyone, I'm Halise, endeavoring to persevere. As always, if you're new here, I make videos about my chaotic food life. Subscribe, follow, social media, all of that. I am going to show you how I'm going to take my propagated Monstera that I have been propagating for some time now and transfer it to. And as you can see, now we have a really great close-up cut to of our Monstera that I had filmed, and you can see it a little bit better, and you can see the intricacies of the leaves and all that nice greenage and all of that fun stuff. Now, another way you can add B-roll footage to your timeline is again using the insert and overwrite tools. So let's get to another section where we can add another B-roll clip, and I'll show you how to do it that way as well. So let's see, we're gonna move a little faster here. We can see that I'm showing you the Folgers mug for some reason. I'm just giving you all a lot of different stuff to play around with. Here we go. This is when I'm showing you the roots of the plant and how awesome they look. So we're gonna again mark our in and out. It looks like about here is good. So hit I on our keyboard, let it play a little bit. Again, you really only need a couple seconds just so people can kind of see. Okay, hit O. And now let's go to where in our timeline, where I also again showed the roots. Now I'm not sure again where you're gonna have that in your timeline, but I'm gonna scrub ahead and try and find where I talk about it. So here's the spot where I'm talking about the roots.
And you can see it is.
So that's awesome, right about there. Let's go back a few frames by hitting our back arrow key. And we actually let's zoom in by hitting our plus key. We wanna kinda line it up with this cut so that way it doesn't feel too jarring, right? Click the S key to make sure snapping is on. And if you hold down shift while you drag your playhead, it will snap to the next cut you've made. You see how it's snapped there with those little arrows? So in the same way again that we use our in and out in our source monitor to say what portion of this clip we want to add in, we're going to use our in again in the timeline itself to say where we want to add this clip in. So we can hit the I key to mark our in point. We want it to begin here. And then if we hit the period key, as you can see, it has now added our close-up of the roots. Let's move our playhead back a little bit, and then let's see.
And you can see it is very ready, very, very ready to be potted into something.
Now, I'm trying to show you multiple ways to bring things into the timeline, just so you've got it. With this, you can see that because we didn't do our drag from the video film strip button, we now have the audio included as well. And you probably know with the B-roll that I'm talking and saying things that are only relevant to you as the editor in the B-roll. It is not something you want in the footage itself. So we need to get rid of this audio clip. But you'll notice that when we click on it, they're both connected together. They're locked together. And we can't get rid of one without doing something to the other, which we don't want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to have it highlighted. We're going to hit Command L or Control L. And what that does is it's going to unlock these two clips and make the video clip on V2 its own thing and make the audio for it its own thing. And this is how you can begin to take audio from other clips and put it with other things in the future if you want to do that. For this, we just want to get rid of it. So now that they're not connected anymore, we can just click on that audio, hit the delete button, and it's gone. So that's another way that you can put footage, your B-roll footage, on top of your A-roll footage. Now, again, I really prefer to just do the drag and drop method. For me, it just works really well. I like it, and I feel like I can edit quickly that way. But I wanted to show you another way to do it just so you have that in your repertoire and you can figure out what works for you. I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple more clips of B-roll footage so you can take a look, and then, hey, go ham and start adding your own. So, let's see. Let's look for another clip here. Close-ups of the Monstera, close-ups of its roots. And here is my Hoya Crimson Crown. And I'm showing that I've already put this plant into LECA and it's doing really well. So let's add something from this. So I believe I'm gonna scrub through our timeline here again to kind of see where I'm talking about it. It looks about right here. Cool. I'm gonna hit the plus key a couple times to get to that spot. I'm gonna hold down shift to lock and snap onto right where I'm talking about this Crimson Crown. Then I'm gonna switch to my source monitor, click on that window so it becomes active. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit the I key because I like this shot that's happening. I'm gonna hit the space bar to play it. That looks really good, it's in focus, that's nice. Only need a couple seconds, hit the space bar again to stop. Hit the O key to mark my out. I think that's enough space. I'm gonna take my cursor and hover it over the video film strip icon, click, hold, and drag it, and put it where I want it, because I just want the video. And then we're gonna play.
Get my feet wet on the process. One of them is this Hoya Crimson Crown named Bertoli, as you can see, and
and there you go. That looks great. And so you can begin to do this with all of the B-roll I have included for the whole video. And when you're done, your timeline will probably look something like this. Having all of the clips you want to add into your video on top of your A-roll clips, and everything looks good. The one thing I am going to touch on real quick though before we end this segment of the class is how to begin to adjust some of your footage. As you've probably worked through the footage, you've probably noticed that some of the clips, even though they're close-ups, the B-roll is a close-up, it still needs a little bit of work. It still feels like it's a little too far away. The audience, the people watching the video, still might not be able to see what I'm showing. So let me show you how to zoom in on footage. And we're gonna do that very, very quickly. It's really simple. So, one section where I think it's hard to see what I'm doing is when I am pH balancing the water. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to one of those clips, and here is one such clip. This is an okay size. I think for YouTube though, I would wanna zoom in just a little bit more so people can really see the numbers and whatnot. So I have this clip highlighted, and then I'm gonna go over to our effects controls. And this is where we can begin to zoom in on this to make it more visible to the audience. And we're gonna play around mostly with scale and position. Now make sure that neither of these stopwatches are clicked on at all. We don't wanna mess with that just yet because we want this clip to stay the same size, scale, and position for the entire time it is available on the timeline. So I'm gonna just scale it up. I think I'm gonna scale it to about there, 150-ish. There's a little bit of pixelation, but I'm okay with that. And then I'm gonna adjust it down to make sure that I'm a little more centered. And that's it. Now, when I go and play back,
and looking at this color and based on the color spectrum, we're closer to 5. I would like to see it be a smidge more green.
yeah. And I like that a little bit better than what it was before. I think before it was still a little too far away and people couldn't really see the numbers very well. So that is how you can scale and position something to make it be a little bit bigger using your footage. Now, this is looking pretty good. We have our A-roll, we have our B-roll. At the end of the day, this is probably a very informative video, but it's missing a little je ne sais quoi. It's missing that little finesse that'll keep it entertaining, keep it kind of fun, that'll give it kind of a style and brand and look and feel. So in the next video, I'm gonna show you some of the simple graphics that you can add to a video to make it have that little bit of an extra spark and begin to kind of introduce people to your identity and brand. Let's get into it.